want you to consider this. How often do you look upon the events of the world or maybe the daily activities of your own life and think there's not enough? There's not enough time, there's not enough money, there's not enough love, there's not enough kindness. The list could go on. There's not enough sunny days, there's not enough rainy days, there's not enough cold days, there's not enough warm days. Why is it that it appears so easy to build our list of not enoughs instead of focusing on what is right in our world? Why do we find ourselves focusing the lens of the telescope of our attention on the not enoughs instead of the more than enoughs? In Unity, we are taught that where we focus our attention is what grows in our lives. It is the law of mind action, the third Unity tenet. Where our attention goes, our life grows. So, what can we do about this inclination to allowing fear-based thoughts or lack thoughts of seeping into our consciousness? When fear creeps in and takes over your power of faith, that is what it does. It takes over your power of faith, fear. Faith in its basic form is the ability to believe, which in turn grows our beliefs and attitudes. And our beliefs impact how we think, feel, and act towards life, and how we react and respond in basically every situation. Faith that has not been exercised in the spiritual sense is what causes us to believe that what you see is what is. And then that adds credence to our fears being real or justified. In this undeveloped state, distrust, doubt, skepticism, and suspicion play leading roles in your life when your power of faith is undeveloped. New Thought minister William Warsh, in his book, How to Use Your 12 Gift from God, identifies faith as your affirming power. And then he expands upon the power of faith in his book. It is your ability to say yes to God. Simply acknowledging your needs doesn't mean that your needs will be met. You must acknowledge that which you need and say yes to it. Say yes to God and your good and move it into your living experience. Faith is a tool with which to build a higher consciousness. Your level of consciousness is supported by your subconscious. That which you believe in, love, fear, or hate at the subconscious level determines your conscious perception of reality. It determines your viewpoints and attitudes. There are many wonderful things, many wonderful positive attitudes you have built into your subconscious by saying yes to them. If you have a prosperity consciousness, you have said yes so often that to prosperity that you have built it into your subconsciousness. You know prosperity. You are prosperity. You live it without thinking about it. You have a yes attitude toward it and are constantly drawing it to you from God. How do you draw your good from the invisible to the visible? By saying yes to God and to your good. I imagine that by now it is quite possible that you are thinking, well, that's well and good, but you don't know what I've been experiencing in my life, and then in particular for these past 2 years. You don't know the stress, the anxiety, and everything that I've been dealing with. And you're right. I don't know specifically what you have been dealing with. And I do know health challenges, financial difficulties, and relationship issues. And I know that when I deal with them from a level of fear, I have a feeling of contraction. And this contraction can be felt in my body and carried in my consciousness. If I am reacting from a place of contraction, I am not expanding in consciousness and into the fullness of life. And if I am not growing in consciousness and expanding into the fullness of life, then I am not transforming my life or anyone's life. That's the downside. The upside is that we have a Bible story that can help us in transforming faith into fear through the power of love. And this story is found in 1 Samuel verse 7, chapter 17, verses 45 through the first half of 46. Then David said to the Philistine, "You come to me with a sword, with a spear, and with a javelin, but I come to you in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied. This day the Lord will deliver you into my hand." Well, in case you weren't sure, that is from the story of David and Goliath. And Goliath had been tormenting the Israeli army, and David was a young shepherd boy at the time. And he is the only one willing to face Goliath toe to toe, head on. He has convinced King Saul that he is up to the task, David. And ultimately, he knocks out Goliath with one of his 5 smooth stones. So let's take a look at this story metaphysically. Metaphysically, and backtrack. All of these definitions come from the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary, and we're just going to look at a couple of the people, the characters in the story. David is often referred to as a type of Christ. His life was a forerunner of that of the more perfect man, Jesus Christ, who was of the house of David. David represents divine love individualized in human consciousness. Love in being, or God, is the idea of perfect unity in all existence. When this divine idea is focused in man, it is the Christ love on its inner side and the Jesus love on its outer. When David, in his youth and purity, daily communed with God, he closely reflected divine love. Goliath is representative of domineering ideas of error. They have one argument that they impress upon us at all times: fear of results should we dare to meet them openly and oppose their reign in consciousness. The Goliath in our lives might not have that large physical presence that the Philistine had, but fear on any level and of any size can taunt us, antagonize, and intimidate us with its presence. If we look to the material world as our source, like King Saul did, that is when we are likely to feel despair due to the incessant nature of our Goliath thoughts. We can, however, stand up to the antagonizer by following the example of young David with the power of love. Love is the great harmonizer. From the level of your higher self, it rebuilds and restores us and our world with the assurance of truth when fueled by confidence and courage, as David displayed. Love can and will transform fear to faith and thus transform your life. Feed your faith, and your fears will disappear. At this time, I would like to invite you to engage in a short exercise. And you can keep your eyes open or you can close your eyes, whatever you feel comfortable with. And I invite you to bring to mind a person or another being, it could be an animal, for whom you feel genuine, authentic love. It could be a parent, a spouse, child, grandparent, a favorite pet. But this person or being fills your the very thought of fills you with the feeling of love. And notice how it fills your body, how it feels in your body. And sit with it for a few moments and allow it to fill you up. Remember how this feels. This feeling is the power of love. Make this feeling your smooth stone. Carry it with you throughout the week and beyond. And when you feel the taunts of Goliath, be they big or small, pull out this smooth stone and subdue the giant. Hit your fears, worries, and anxieties right in the forehead with your smooth stone of the feeling of the power of love. And if the giant gets back up, as they so often do in those movie scenes, use another smooth stone. Love can and does transform fear into faith. You have the power. Use it. Feed your faith, and your fears disappear. And have a blessed week.